Saiah baby here, and I'm back with another video. I know I haven't posted in a while, but that's only because my iCloud has not been cooperating. It hasn't let me get any access to any of the videos that I have for you guys. So at that point, I had to just start all over, get fresh videos for you guys. And we're gonna start with this back to school hairstyle. So those that are new to my channel, this is Isaiah, my mini-me. I've never made any active posts about it, but he is autistic, so when we do certain tasks or activities, it can be kind of hard for him to stay on track or to stay in one spot. And in this video, I have a few tips for any parents of autistic children that may not really know how to get the hair done without an extra hard time. It took me a minute to learn, which I am still learning, and that's okay because you learn new things every day. In the beginning of the video, you guys saw that I had Ozzy's Miracle Curl Conditioner. I didn't record it, but all I did was wet his braids and basically completely drench them in the conditioner. And that helps me to take his hair out without less tugging and pulling on his hair. It makes his hair a little more moisturized and slippery. So it makes me happy that I can take his hair out, and it makes him happy that I'm not pulling on his hair too much. So this is his braid completely taken out. I didn't mention that these braids are about a month old, so his hair can get a little matted, and you guys can see that he has super thick 4C hair. I can't just go right in. I have to kind of keep him happy because the more irritated he gets, the harder it is to just get his hair done. So I just try to make sure that his hair is less tugged on, or I'm not really hurting him as much. So after I take those braids out, I would just twist it away. The most I would do is lightly finger detangle it, and then we'll get into detangling a little later. Anytime you're dealing with type 4 hair, especially on children, you want to do it in sections. This just makes it easier to deal with, so you're not getting overwhelmed and the person isn't getting overwhelmed from too much tugging and pulling, and you don't want any unnecessary breakage. That kind of keeps your hair from growing how you want it to. You guys see here that Isaiah is pretty much still good. He's just playing with the water and his mouth is moving. And that's because when I'm doing his hair, I usually try to give him some conversation or just answer any little questions he may be asking while I'm doing his hair. And active conversation that I've seen for him, it kind of keeps him a little distracted from even paying attention to me doing his hair. If he's paying too much attention to me doing his hair, he's not gonna let me do his hair. So I just have to kind of keep him distracted, and he likes talking to mommy, so I do not mind giving him conversation. So you guys can kind of see that I'm halfway through taking his braids out. That's really because his hair is super thick, like I said in the beginning. You don't want to tug too much, and from my experience of tugging his hair too much in particular, he's not gonna want me to touch his hair anymore at that point. So if you do have an autistic child and you're doing their hair and they do happen to have type 4 hair, please do their hair in sections, and please take your time. You don't want to get them to a point where they're irritated and they do not want you to touch their hair anymore. I know you guys see the little hairs on his back. Those are nothing but dead pieces of hair. But for Isaiah, they are fuzzies. I told him they were fuzzies because there was a point of time that he was actually scared of it. When I would wash his hair in the bathtub, the hair would float around, and he just did not like that. It was not a ball game for him. So I gave him a great explanation of that the fuzzies fall out of your hair when they're no good anymore, and he's okay with that now. So whatever works for your child, you know, use that, especially if they happen to be scared of them, like Isaiah. But for me and Isaiah, they are fuzzies. I'm pretty sure you guys also noticed that Isaiah is standing up and he's not sitting in the bathtub or laying across a counter with his head in the sink. I just happened to notice that switching it up for him is like a new adventure for him, and that works for him and me. So Whatever works for you guys, go ahead and go for it. I noticed consistently having him sit in the bathtub, he didn't always cooperate, but when I started switching it up, I see, like I said, it's a new adventure for him. So maybe you guys can use that tip for your children from time to time. So we're pretty much done here. He's gonna wave at the camera because he loves looking at himself. He kept asking to take a picture, but hey, conceded much. Anywho, we're gonna twist this last one away and we're gonna move right on to shampooing his scalp and his entire head. Can y'all just look at the thickness of this baby's hair? Like, oh my. Just imagine the journey every time I have to do a hairstyle, guys. Just imagine. Those with children with 4C hair, y'all know. So for cleansing, we're going to use Aussie Miracle Curl Shampoo. I use this on myself and it's gave great outcomes for him, so we're good over here. So we're going to get his hair nice and damp because his hair drinks water. He has high porosity hair just like mommy. So gotta get that hair hydrated. So at this point, I have to kind of convince him to lean his head back so that the water doesn't get in his face. Considering the fact that he does not like water in his face, I just go ahead and give him the shower head so it can distract him a little. He can play with the water and I can wash his hair in peace. And this method kind of works for me for the most part, especially if he's in the mood to play with the water. That just makes it easier for both of us. And then I just go ahead and apply the shampoo on his scalp. I just massage his scalp first, even though that's the best way on wash days to just clean your scalp first and then the hair. It's definitely best for me and Isaiah because the soap sometimes can fall down on his forehead. But if you happen to have the little cap that they have for children, too bad it's at Gigi's house right now. But anyways, I usually would put the little cap around his head so it keeps the water and soap from falling in his face. That is honestly the best thing to use with children, and especially if you have an autistic child, you want to get that little cap. It'll just make your wash days for them a lot smoother. It keeps the water and soap out of their face and it keeps them happy. When you're washing hair, you want to always use your fingertips and never your nails. That is going to immediately irritate your scalp. And like I said earlier, if Isaiah gets irritated, he's not going to want me to touch his hair any longer. So I make sure I massage his scalp with my fingertips, and sometimes I just use my thumb altogether. I learned that method with the thumb from watching ASMR videos, and these women in China and Japan at hair spas would literally use their thumb to clean the scalp. It is honestly the best and safest way to get your scalp clean, especially without irritating it. So whatever works best for you, like I always say to anybody, go ahead and use what works best for you. But this is my method and I just wanted to share it with you all. And Isaiah is okay with it, so I'm definitely okay with it. You guys can only imagine what my floor is looking like right now. Like, see, giving him the shower head is one thing and him keeping the water inside the tub is another. But anywho, I'm done cleaning his scalp, so I'm gonna go ahead and rinse that out. So again, you want to kind of convince them to lean their head back. If you do not have the little cap, this is why I just go ahead and use the cap, because sometimes the child may not cooperate with leaning their head back. I kind of have to use a little fun way to make him put his head back, or I'll just kind of tap his chin a little and it'll kind of guide him to lean his head back. But most of the time I just use the cap. So honestly, parents, go ahead and invest in that little cap. It will save you lots of time and troubles. So now it's time for the second wash. I'm gonna go ahead and give him back that shower head so he's not paying attention to me. The second wash is really to cleanse the hair now that the scalp is clean. I just usually go ahead and throw that on the hair, and I do keep the hair in twists because it is easier for me to manage that way. And again, it's not me tugging on his full head, and right now his hair is still tangled. So he would definitely give me a hard time if I just went in with his hair without sections. That's just not a pretty picture. Been there, done that. Just please work with sections if your child has thick hair. It's just better that way. I'm not sure how every child that is autistic would react to their hair being washed, but from my own experience, it's just best to keep the hair in sections when you wash it. So after I've lathered his hair up to my liking, it's time to rinse, and we get to move on to my favorite part. Yay, detangling. You guys can probably only imagine how it is to detangle such thick, coarse hair if you've never really dealt with it before. But if you already have thick hair, or if you've done people's hair who is thick, then you kind of already know what you're dealing with at that point. Again, sections. Always work in sections. So for the moisturizing and detangling part, I'm gonna go ahead and use Aussie's 3-minute Miracle Curls Deep Conditioner. I love this deep conditioner for my hair. Personally, it just makes it nice and soft, and this is perfect for Isaiah's hair. The fact that it's super thick with high porosity. I'm gonna get a generous amount per section, and you wanna work your fingers through this hair again even before you put that detangling brush on there, because again, you don't want any unnecessary breakage. For detangling, I usually would use the brush vertically. There are some folks that still use the brush horizontally. That is myself on my own hair, but vertically works for Isaiah's hair better. I'm not really sure why. I don't know the science of it, but it just works for his hair. And you know, like I said before, I don't want to pull on his hair too much, and you guys know that little nick piece of hair that just really hurt, even though it was a little tiny piece. Yeah, I don't want that to happen with him, because when he gets irritated, he's not gonna let me do it anymore. So I try to be really careful when I'm detangling Isaiah's hair, because I do not want him to stop me mid-process, which he has done before. So I believe him, he will do it. So when I'm detangling Isaiah's hair, I would braid it away after I've detangled the section. This method has been best for my hair also, considering the fact that I have 4C high porosity hair. Braiding it away kind of just locks in the moisture a lot better than twisting it. I've just always seen that with my hair, and I've even seen that with his hair. So, you know, if you have a better method, you know, you can always drop it in the comments, but braiding it away has always been best for our hair types. And even especially for him, when I don't braid it, it kind of gets back tangled, so twisting it with detangling is just not the best option for him. Braiding it kind of keeps the hair secure and keeps it in place, so that's just what we do. So I know you guys also see that I kept his sections in which his braids were. That just makes it a little easier to even get into his head altogether, because personally, when you're picking through his head a little too much too early, he's just not gonna cooperate. You're gonna have a hard time. Considering the fact that I already have to part his hair a lot when I get to the styling part, yeah, I have to minimize the picking through his head. So whatever makes it easier for him just makes it easier for me. So again, when detangling thick 4C hair, you want to be very careful and make sure you do decent section sizes, whatever works for you in that point. You can see I'm detangling his hair and he's quite okay. He's just playing with the water. That right there just shows you that I am very much careful with his head. I want to keep him at peace as long as I can while I'm even going through the entire process. Remember, we want to get it done, so the more peace, the better. Let's just go ahead and check out his texture, which I love, love, love. I've always loved curly hair. The Lord just went ahead and blessed me with a curly hair baby, which is, I just love it. So we're gonna go ahead and detangle this last section. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a texture shot after I've detangled that section so you can kind of see how his curls pop. So I'm finally done detangling his hair. That took about an hour and a half. Yeah, just because, again, I don't want to hurt him and I want to make sure he's at peace as long as possible. Plus, you don't want to snag healthy hair. That's one thing you don't want to do. That's gonna stunt your growth of your hair. So you want to be very, very careful when you're detangling. And that's exactly what I did, and it is time consuming, so if you don't have time, please just wait another day till you have time, because you don't want to rush and snag healthy hair. So we're gonna go right along with rinsing the conditioner out. I don't usually leave the deep conditioner in his hair for the 30 minutes and so on, only because he's not gonna sit down that long to even wait for that, especially under a steamer. So I just leave that in his hair for about 5 to 10 minutes and just let it soak in his braids, and we go from there. At that point, you know, he's still happy and I can continue to do his hair. So here is all his fuzzies put together. That's the dead hair for today. And we're gonna go right into blow drying. This is honestly my least favorite part because he does not like loud sounds. So sometimes it can be a little difficult to get him to sit in the chair. But I do have a tip for that, and you guys can definitely stick around for that one. So for protecting his hair, you guys saw that I have the Just For Me natural hair milk and the Dude Grow stimulating hair oil. That combo honestly is okay for me. The natural hair milk has always been good for his hair. I just used the Dude Grow hair oil because I didn't have any more coconut oil, which is what I usually would use. But that one was a great replacement and it protected his hair pretty well. For blow drying his hair, I always would put it on a cool setting. You want to use the cool setting because you don't want to disturb or harm the child because of the steam. So cool setting is best for any child. And he's about to cover his ears in a moment. Like I stated, he doesn't like loud sounds. If you didn't know about autistic children, which I did learn down the line, they do not like any loud noises, from car horns to loud booms, fireworks, anything to that nature. They do not like loud stuff. So what I've always used as a method, I would keep the blow dryer on after I finish a section. So let me elaborate on that a little bit. Basically, after I blow dry one section, instead of turning off the blow dryer like some people would do, most people actually do, I do that for my own hair, but the fact that he does not like the loudness of it, I want to kind of get him used to it so he can be at a comfortable state now. So I would just leave the blow dryer on after I finish each section, and he would eventually get used to the sound and he will actually remove his fingers from his ears. And you will see that later on in the clips. So one little tip that I have for this blow dryer, which I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this almost everywhere. I got mine from Sally's Beauty Supply Store. I've seen it on Amazon, I've seen it at Walmart, so you can find it everywhere else if you haven't tried it already. But if you do already have it and you don't use this method already, try blow drying your hair with the blow dryer in a vertical way, just like I showed with the detangling brush. To me, it just takes on more hair and stretch out your hair a little better that way. I don't know. That just works out for me, myself and I, and even Isaiah. So check that out and see if it works for you. So I know you guys can see Isaiah's face. He's pretty much irritated at this point because of the blow dryer, but you guys will see later that he'll calm down because the blow dryer is on. But right now, he's just irritated because I'm continuously tugging on his hair a little. And you guys know how it is to blow dry. You have to make sure you get the blow dryer through pretty much every strand of hair to get it stretched out to your liking. And for the hairstyle he's getting, I need his hair pretty stretched out. So he's not liking this process, but he'll be okay momentarily. You guys will see that later on. But can we just admire the length of his hair right now? Like, this is the results of me growing out his hair for the last 3.5 years, which is when I pretty much started doing braids and styles in his hair. Hopefully as he gets older, he still wants to keep his hair, because I would love to see how long it could get. Can we just admire? I think I've been doing a pretty good job. Like, just look. So as you guys can see here, he's moved his hands from his ears, and this is because of the method I told you guys with leaving the blow dryer on. He's a lot calmer now, so now I can fly through this last section of hair with no problem. So here we are, fully blow dried. He's pretty poofed. We both are. Blow drying usually takes about 2 hours because of the thickness of his hair, but at least we're at the styling process, so we're almost there. Just check out this healthy hair, y'all. I had to show y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and part his hair down the middle, and then I'm also gonna part across his head so that he can basically have 3 sections that I can work with. This just kind of helps me keep him as even as possible, because he doesn't really like sitting still when I'm parting his hair. That's another thing that pretty much irritates him, and at that point I can just hope that he's in a good mood to stay still to get the cleanest part possible. So another tip with doing your child's hair with autism, you do not want to poke too much into their scalp. This is pretty much any child, but from my own personal experience, Isaiah literally stopped me from doing his hair when he was 3 years old from just poking a little bit too much, and I just wasn't even able to do his hair, and he had to rock a ponytail for like a week because he just would not. It's like he didn't trust me anymore. So you want to be really, really careful when you're parting the hair. Take it from me, they will not let you touch their head anymore, and it's like they're strict on it. It's like they know what they know. They on that. They don't want you to touch their hair no more. So just be very, very careful when you're partying. even though his hair is already moisturized from the hair milk, I'm gonna go ahead and still put some African shea butter on the hair before I braid it. This kind of keeps the hair from drying out in a few days or so. I always use shea butter on my own hair, and shea butter has gotten his hair this long, to be honest, combined with hair oils that I use for us. So make sure you find a hair butter or something. I don't really just throw moisturizer on top of the hair when I'm braiding. Shea butter works for us, so you can try that out for yourselves, or you can even drop in the comments below some products that you guys may use when you're braiding your natural hair. I would love to know. I love hair products, so feel free to drop some hair products that I can try out for me and Isaiah. So I know you guys saw the thumbnail of the hairstyle that I'm putting in Isaiah's head. I'm basically doing box braids. I'm gonna do medium parts, like medium large-ish, because I do not want his hair to lock up, and nor do I want his hair to break or pop because the part is too small. So we're gonna go with the safest way of doing medium large parts, which has always worked out for us. At this point, I'm pretty sure you guys can tell that Isaiah is over this entire process. He's a little more fidgety now, and I'm only on the first braid, so you guys can only imagine the entire hairstyle being finished. I know it looks like I'm being a little rough with him by pushing his head down, but I'm not even pushing his head down. If you guys were actually in person to see, I'm really just putting a little pressure on his head, very, very, very light pressure, which will guide his head to even be put down. He'll know to put his head down when he feels that pressure on the back. So, whatever works for you. I just usually would put a light bit of pressure in the midst of his head, and he will just know, okay, that means to push my head down so that mommy can get to the back of his head. That's just kind of how I've trained him within the last 3.5 years doing his hair. You can only imagine how it was in the beginning when he was not used to it. But if you keep doing it consistently, they will definitely eventually get used to it. But every child is different, so if you guys do have some type of methods that keep your child's head down while you're doing the back of their head, other than a tablet, please, please, please drop it in the comments below, because with Isaiah having autism, and not only that, he does have ADHD. I did forget to mention that in the beginning. So his attention does go everywhere. His attention is everywhere. He has a short attention span. So the tablet can get a little boring to him, especially if it's not something on there that, locks him in. So sometimes he would just want my phone because he can hop from app to app. But the fact that he has a limit on the tablet, it only has children's apps and little games and videos and stuff like that. So again, if you have any other methods, I would love to know in the comments. So, with braiding your child's hair with autism, now this is any child really, just like with pulling and tugging hair, but you definitely don't want to braid a child's head too tight, especially if they have autism. Personally, Isaiah has only gotten his hair braided too tight one time ever in his life, and that's when he was 2.5 years old, and I just never did that again because of how he reacted. He was trying to pull his hair out. He was very irritable. He was crying, and he couldn't even sleep at night. And at that point, I had to take out his hair and just give his hair a break and let him rock a ponytail for like a week or so. So you just don't want to braid their hair too tight. I'm not sure how everybody's child with autism would react to tight braids, but I can only imagine. I just know that Isaiah did not like it, so I learned after that one time to just not even braid too tightly. And that's with any child's head. Just don't braid their hair too tight. You don't want to snatch their little hair. Their hairs are not even fully mature yet, so you just want to be very gentle in a child's head overall. But me learning that Isaiah just did not take that, and I just didn't like seeing him very irritated, and the fact that he was trying to rip out his own hair, that just kind of sent me over the edge a little bit. So just be careful when you're braiding a child with autism's hair, because they're just not gonna like it. From my own experience, he just didn't like it. So just be very careful and try to do it as light as possible, but make sure, of course, you still have it firm enough to where the style is neat. So at this point, this is a bonding moment for me and Isaiah because he's over the hairstyle, but I have to pretty much finish, of course. And I'm talking to him while he's playing his game. I'm talking about his game with him. So at this point, he's not even paying attention to the fact that I'm braiding his hair. I'm talking about his game. I'm playing it with them. So, if you have a great distraction for your child, go ahead and give it to them. And if you are that distraction for them, go ahead and be that for them. Right now, he's just admiring his length. He's feeling his hair drop down his neck. So, go ahead and let them do that. He's always touching his hair. And if you guys ever knew about anything with autistic children, or just children period, it's good to have little sensory things for them. If you don't know what that is, just go ahead and do a little bit more research. But, he's just having a sensory moment with his hair, which he always does. He's always touching his hair after I've done it, and I'm okay with that, as long as he's not doing it in the midst of me doing his hair. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you know how that is. Personally, that is annoying when I'm doing someone's head and they're touching up in there. Y'all know how that is. But anywho, the rest of his head is parted in squares, but the last 4 braids I had in the front, I decided to part them in triangles, only because the parts apparently came out in different little sizes, but that's okay. So I just kind of blended it in the front and gave him triangle parts. I really like how it came out because it gets to just drop down his face, but it's not directly in his face, so that just makes it less irritating for him, and it still came out pretty nice. So here I've done told him this is his last braid, last one, and he's getting a little jumpy now because he knows this is his last braid. That is most likely his favorite part because now he gets to move around. He doesn't have to stay in one spot. Yeah, he doesn't like staying in one spot, so any chance he gets to move around, that's all for him. He loves it. So I've actually done this style on him a few times. As you can see by the thumbnail, that was the picture of his first day of school. I loved it. And I think he likes the style because he likes to shake his hair around and let the braids kind of swing everywhere. So whatever Travis Scott said. Alright, so we're done with braiding, finally. I'm gonna oil his scalp up. I just put a little oil on his scalp. I don't really drench it. I kind of just draw a little thick line, and then I just use my finger the rest of the way, which I didn't catch on a clip. Now we're finally finished. He's so happy because he gets to move around, like I said. If you guys are new to my channel, go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. If you would like to see more hairstyles with me and Isaiah, go ahead and drop that in the comments below. Don't forget to share with someone who may need some tips, and Saiah baby out.